Almost a quarter of UK household wealth is owned by just 1% of the population. That's according to new analysis, which also suggests we have historically underestimated the significant levels of inequality in this country. According to the research, the top 1% hold nearly £800 billion more wealth than disclosed by the official statistics. This means that inequality levels in the UK are likely to be much higher than previously thought. In fact, the researchers say that the extra £800 billion in missing wealth is only a conservative estimate, and it could be much, much more. In this video, I'm looking at the research from the Resolution Foundation think tank and considering what it means for high and rising levels of wealth inequality in the UK. Is it really such a bad thing that the top 1% own so much? Hi everyone, I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner at Informed Choice. On this channel, I talk about personal finance, investing and happiness. I make these videos to help you become wealthier and happier. If that sounds like a great result, click on that little red subscribe button to become part of our subscriber community. It's completely free and you'll never miss an episode. This research from the Resolution Foundation comes at a critical time for the wealth inequality debate. We've had calls in recent weeks for a one-off wealth tax levied on the wealthiest in society to help raise money to pay back the cost of the COVID response. Higher taxes are also being discussed as a way to cope with the rising costs of an ageing population, with recent proposals for an age tax to help fund adult social care. The research suggests that the official statistics about wealth are missing around 5% of the total wealth held by the richest households. They identified this missing wealth by comparing the official figures with data from the Sunday Times Rich List. The money is missing because apparently official stats find it very hard to capture asset details for very wealthy families. Once this missing wealth is added back in, even on a very conservative measure, it means the share of the total wealth held by the top 1% rises from 18% to 23%. Wealth inequality was actually in decline during most of the 20th century as wealth distribution across society improved. The top 10% saw their share of wealth, a total wealth share, decline from more than 90% at the turn of the century to around 50% by the 1980s. However, levels of wealth inequality have been on the rise since. Much of this rise in wealth inequality is driven higher by rising asset prices. Since the recovery from the global financial crisis, at least up until the start of the COVID crisis, the value of company shares and property has soared higher. Estimates suggest that anywhere between 76% and 93% of wealth gains since the financial crisis have come from rising asset values, including property. It's these rising asset prices fueling wealth inequality that supports calls for wealth tax to be implemented. A one-off wealth tax levied on the net value of assets over a certain threshold, say £500,000 or £1 million for a household, could raise a significant amount of money to help repay the national debt inflated by the COVID crisis. We've also heard recently proposals from the Office for Tax Simplification to reform capital gains tax, doubling the rate of tax and removing various exemptions or reducing allowances. According to the Resolution Foundation, who carried out this research and identified missing wealth among the top 1%, wealth taxation will need to play a bigger role in the economy over the course of the 2020s. Accordingly, the Foundation wants to see Chancellor Rishi Sunak embark on the biggest reforms to wealth taxation in a generation, including restricting capital gains and inheritance tax reliefs, as well as adding a council tax supplement of 1% on properties worth over £2 million. Jack Leslie, an economist at the Foundation, said the UK has undergone a wealth boom in recent decades, which has continued even while earnings and incomes have stagnated, but official data has struggled to capture these gains and misses £800 billion of assets held by the very wealthiest households in Britain. Wealth inequality is an issue in many countries around the world. In the US last year, several billionaires called out the shocking level of wealth inequality there. JP Morgan Chase and Co.'s CEO Jamie Dimon wrote in an article just before Christmas that, without addressing the underlying economic inequality in the US, capitalism could soon meet its demise. Ray Dalio, founder of Bridgewater Associates, has said the American dream does not exist because of forces like extreme political polarization and wealth inequality. Mark Benioff, who is CEO of Salesforce.com, wrote about the horrifying inequality and the need for a new capitalism. He wrote about that in October 2019. We've heard a lot about the Great Reset in the past year. I'm not talking about the nutty conspiracy theory, but instead the proposal by the World Economic Forum to rebuild the global economy more sustainably following the COVID-19 pandemic. This was an idea introduced by Prince Charles, who said the economic recovery post-COVID must put the world on a path to sustainability, with systems being redesigned to help. For example, carbon pricing could be a method used to help achieve sustainability. He also called for sustainable ideas to be made more profitable by reinvigorating innovations, science, and technology. The Great Reset is all about fairness. According to the World Economic Forum, we should also adapt to the current reality by directing the market to fairer results, ensure investments are aimed at mutual progress, including accelerating ecologically friendly investments, and to start a fourth industrial revolution, creating digital, economic, and public infrastructure. While the private sector would be the main drivers of this plan, which will be the main theme of this year's World Economic Forum, they won't apparently change the economic system, but rather improve it to create what some consider to be responsible capitalism. Rising levels of wealth inequality and this economic agenda to build back better following COVID, I think, are going to gradually tackle some of these issues around wealth inequality in the future. As advanced robotics and artificial intelligence advances replace more and more jobs, it feels inevitable to me that we'll see some form of universal basic income introduced to compensate for lost earnings potential. And that UBI could well be funded by a wealth tax on those who benefit most from tech-led workforce efficiency and also rising asset prices. However, there are some risks associated with wealth tax proposals and a rhetoric seeking to tax the rich. When we looked recently at the one-off wealth tax proposals from the Wealth Tax Commission, it was clear that they would come with a series of unintended consequences. What about people who are considered wealthy but who are cash poor? With rising wealth inequality since the global financial crisis largely the result of rising asset prices, the cash to pay a wealth tax is not always readily available. We also need to take real care not to disincentivise wealth creation here in the UK, tax the wealthy until the pips squeak, and you risk forcing wealth creators out of the country. I had a debate on Twitter the other day after using Amazon to purchase a new camera lens. I dropped my camera on New Year's Day and I smashed my favourite lens, new one arriving today by the way. Someone suggested I instead look for an independent online retailer, one who pays tax. And I know a lot of people get very angry about Amazon's alleged levels of corporation tax payments here in the UK, but I think that misses a bigger picture. From their own website, Amazon invests heavily in the UK, more than £23 billion since 2010. The company employs 30,000 people across the country, and estimates show that Amazon's investments have created nearly £45 billion in value-added GDP since 2010. They recently announced a further 10,000 jobs here in the UK, many targeted in parts of the country with a history of higher unemployment and lower investment, for example in the northwest of England. I'm not saying for a moment that a giant business like Amazon is perfect, and I can appreciate the frustration when their corporation tax payments are compared to their UK revenues. But without a business like Amazon operating in the UK, there would be no Amazon jobs and no Amazon capital investment. Going in too hard with wealth taxes is the equivalent of cutting off your nose to spite your face. With a truly global economy, wealthy individuals and business owners have a great deal of choice about where to live and where to base their business operations. Punitive taxation is unlikely to bode well for the future of wealth creation here in the UK. What do you think about rising levels of wealth inequality, about this hidden wealth among the top 1%, and about proposals for wealth taxes or a great reset to tackle some of these inequality issues? Let me know in the comments. Would you like to receive a short email from me in your inbox every Wednesday? Head along to sendfox.com/Bamford to register for Midweek Money. It's my weekly roundup of personal finance news and tips, and it is completely free. Sendfox.com/Bamford to sign up now. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford, and remember, when it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow.